Hello, hello. My name is Brittany.
And I'm Kate.
And we are
The Fools.
Join us as we explore everything spiritual, astrological, and overall mystical.
Don't forget to follow your intuition, but more importantly, follow us at The Fools.
Welcome back to the Fools Podcast. We have our wonderful guest Olivia back again with our part 2 episode.
Yes, so if you have not listened to part 1 of our tarot series, go back an episode and listen to that one because I feel like it's going to be a great prerequisite.
It's a great jumping off point, if you will.
It's more of the Kate's dog is licking
Brittany's
my
toes.
foot.
She's
okay.
a lover.
It's a little sexual. I'm gonna need you to back up, girlfriend. So the last episode was more on like the history of tarot and how to interpret it or incorporate it into your life. So yeah, go give that a listen.
Where to start if you're a beginner. I think the history is actually very important and interesting information that I did not know about. So I guess we'll reintroduce you. You're Olivia.
I am Olivia. I also go by Olive, and thanks for having me for part 2.
Yes.
If you guys are interested in learning anything about tarot, Olivia has a great class.
Yeah, I do group classes about every other month, but I also do one-on-one tarot and divination classes and packages, and it's really fun to work together.
We're going to link all of her info in our description boxes, but basically if you want to find her Instagram is hi_little_flower, which is also your website as well, right?
Yeah, www.highlittleflower.com. Thank you.
Yeah, go talk to Olivia. Go get a reading. She's great, insightful. I love getting read by you.
Thank you.
It's obviously different because we're very close, intimate friends. So you know a lot about me already going into it. But it helps so much. So I love that. I love that we're going to do that at the end of the episode a little bit. We'll get some insights moving. Yeah.
And also cross promotion for her podcast called the Double Rainbow Podcast, which is also another spiritual podcast, deep diving into basically all of it more so than probably we
Not
are
necessarily
here.
about tarot. Yeah.
Maybe at some point we'll go down a lot of different avenues. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts at the Double Rainbow Podcast.
Yay.
Amazing. Yeah, okay. So now that that's out of the way.
Now that all of the promo shit.
We reintroduced
It's
you.
worth it.
Yeah, it
we
is
got
worth
to.
it. And if you haven't listened to the episode before, this is Olivia. She's my childhood best friend. She's a great tarot reader, spiritual advisor, overall great human. I will say something we didn't touch on in the last episode that I think is really important and opened my eyes taking your course was the ethics of tarot. And we didn't speak that much about it, but I would like to hear you talk about when you're giving readings or reading other people, whether it's friends or strangers, what are you using to guide your ethics and messages?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. So not just with tarot, but with all forms of divination or all sort of spiritual fields, it's really important to consider your ethics and your, kind of like personal moral compass with working with others and working, as a medium with the spirit world. So it's going to look different for each person, but specifically in readings, I have certain boundaries, essentially, that keep the practice honest and open and in balance and personally in alignment with my spirit and the guides that I work with as well. And so, for example, I personally don't do third-party readings, which is reading on another person that's not in the room. And I'm not talking about reading on like a relationship. Like it's different than like, I'm having some issues with my partner and I want to look into that. It's more like, hey, is this other person who's not here, like, let's say, is my partner, like, is he gonna get that job, or like whatever, you know, because in a way that's kind of like spiritual spying to me. That person didn't ask for the divination. They didn't ask for me to read their energy. And so
like
I'm
getting
not
into someone's business.
Yeah, it's like spiritual investigation. I'm not going to do that. So that's like one personal one. But in general, my principles, like I guide them by some of the same ones I used as a social worker and a case manager, which is, you know, honesty, transparency, non-judgment, and really all things kind of come back to that. But to keep it simple, that's kind of what guides it. Yeah.
I think that just probably makes you such an amazing reader, because you saw some shit working as a social worker, and
to know the science behind psychology.
Yeah.
That's like super important. So like you can keep people's mental health in check.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to say something that could cause someone to spiral unintentionally or intentionally.
And especially when you're doing spiritual work, you're working with people in very vulnerable, emotionally, you know, and spiritually, mentally vulnerable positions. A lot of the time people are looking for guidance, people are looking for support, and I'm here for that.
Yeah.
But you have to be like, there's a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of weight that comes with that you have to consider. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So even in your own personal practice, you know, you even have to, you know, search, like, am I going to do a third party reading for someone who's not in the room right now? Or am I going to just focus on myself and be, you know, with my friends who are open to it and receiving messages with them?
Also, giving people free will, I think, is a really important part of my ethics. And that's something that personally triggers me with some other practitioners at times, is when they bring through messages as a very absolute, like, you need to do this, and if you don't do this,
your
like,
dad's gonna die or something crazy.
Right. And that just doesn't feel right to me to bring across information, because, like, at the end of the day, I'm here as a messenger, I'm here as a bridge, you know, to some subtler energies, and just supporting you also in your journey to feeling those out. So I'm not here to, you know, take away your free will.
Yeah. It's also, there's always like this stereotype with psychics and tarot readers being intertwined, and then something happening where it's like, oh, well, if you buy this black candle from me and light it on the 5th day, then all your problems will go away. And then it's like you're taking advantage of somebody in a weak position, or someone who like is just seeking help.
Honestly.
Which is really sad. So just make sure you do your research when going to talk to people, or follow your intuition. I mean, Kate's said multiple times she had great luck with finding people just by following.
And it's okay to ask people. Like, I'm not offended. Like, if you're like, hey, what are your like boundaries? Like, I mean, that's how I start off every new reading, like with a new client anyways. But honestly, ask the people that you work with. If you're going to a new reader, if you're even reaching out to someone, just be like, hey, what are your, you know, like, what are your ethical, you know, kind of guidelines, or what are your boundaries with your service? Yeah. And it's totally fine.
And if they say they don't have any, maybe that's the red flag. Maybe that's the red flag right there. Okay, so we thought for this episode it would be fun to delve into some facts/myths surrounding tarot and divinity, I guess, in general, but relating to tarot. Some of them are mine.
Yeah.
Some of them I Googled. So let's
Can't
go.
wait.
Let's go. Something that actually a friend asked me at work the other day, because I bought her an oracle deck for her birthday. She was kind of starting her journey. And she asked me if tarot is for predicting the future. And I said, no, I think it's more of a self-reflection tool. But I guess it's not necessarily like a black and white answer.
Yeah,
we always have free will.
Exactly. I would say in general, if that's what somebody thinks, you know, the main purpose is, that's a little bit off, because, and again, this is my opinion, but I think a lot of people share this, you know, time is maybe not as linear as we experience it. And so thinking that you can 100% predict every single aspect of the future with 100% accuracy whenever doesn't really go with the other things that are happening in the universe.
And again, it comes back to that thing you were saying, like, you should be wary of people who are like saying like, this is finite, this is sketched in stone. So it's like,
And I'll do future, questions with people, but it's just important to keep in mind that these are potentials. Some things are stronger potentials than others.
Yeah. I always, my like example to myself, because who am I talking to? But it's always like, okay, I'm always trying to manifest like this career. But tomorrow, if I just don't put any work and I'm just like,
exactly,
I'm never studying again and I'm just going to go to McDonald's.
Right.
But I'm going to manifest that career. It's like, okay, well, you're not living in alignment with it anymore. So
you change paths.
Exactly. So it's like, as much as someone can, ask questions about the future, it is also your free will and how you live your life.
Exactly. But it can help you with decisions about the future.
Reflecting on different circumstances and different options, and self-reflection on where you are emotionally.
Yeah. Just one little piece of advice. Don't get too caught up on the future. There's other things you can look at with them too. Like, there's so much more you can do.
I love that.
Yeah.
Something that I struggled with for a while when I first got into this was I heard somewhere that you should be gifted your first deck, that you shouldn't buy it. And so I didn't get a deck for
a while.
Months and months, until I feel like everyone was just like,
get your own deck.
Get your own deck. Because I was really attracted to this one that I kept seeing or searching and looking at, and then I just bit the bullet. But it took me a while to let go of that superstition.
Yes.
Do you know where that comes from, or do you believe in that at all?
I actually don't know where that one comes from. Haven't been able to figure that out personally. I think it's cap. That's like, it's really that creates a barrier, in people using it as a divination tool. And I wish I knew where that came from. But it is a highly perpetuated belief, and I think, if you feel that way, that's fine. But personally, I think if you're feeling drawn to the tool and you're feeling drawn to some cards...
There's a reason.
And this is the society we live in. You have to buy shit, so...
Yeah. So we're going to say myth.
Yeah.
Busted.
Did you guys watch that Mythbusters show growing up?
Yeah, I did.
No.
I lived on that show, Mythbusters.
Oh, shoot.
Where they bust
They did
myths.
experiments. So
it was more science-oriented.
Maybe a little, I don't know.
We watched it literally in 7th grade science, I'm pretty sure. Anyways.
Next question before we get into...
that I know that about you.
To your histories. A question I saw is, are you really communicating with spirit when you do tarot?
Like, am I? Or is
anyone? Like, I feel like people...
Let's start with you.
You specifically, who are you talking to? Which deity? Which... No, I'm just kidding.
What's their phone number? I need to dial in.
Also, could you reach Jesus Christ himself?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not going to go into the Jesus
question. That was a joke. I just want to put that out there.
Maybe offline we can talk about that. That's way too hot topic. It's pretty funny. Do I personally talk to spirit?
Or do you think when people are using tarot as a tool that it is... The answers you're getting is a communication from the spirit world?
Yes, you 100% can. Do I think that's the way that it always goes down? No. But can you? Yes. So, and that is what I do. That's how I use the tool. So when I'm in a session with someone or I'm doing it, for myself, that is how I operate. And yeah, it's speaking with spirits. Some people, I think, just interpret that differently. People interpret energies differently. So to some people it may be more visual, to some people it may be more like they feel it, some people like things come up in their mind. It's just gonna look different for everybody how you interact with spirit. But I don't think I would be making this a business and doing it for people if I wasn't. Yeah, or else you could just do it yourself. I'm here to help you, connect to some of those things that can be a little harder to interpret.
And it's a hard question too, because people think the spirit world is all different too. Like some people are like, oh, you're connecting to your higher self.
Yeah.
And some are like, no, you have a spirit team, and some believe in both of those things. And
exactly.
So it gets kind of
It's based on your belief and how you interact with spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually try to get a vibe, with the person that I'm working with, I ask people how they interact and like their, kind of spiritual energy and things like that. So we can kind of get on the same level, but I have my own way of doing it. And yeah, I totally I totally know that I am. And I think, there's always going to be doubters out there that are like, there's no way anybody's,
Yeah, like this is just like luck of a draw
exactly.
type thing.
And that's fine, whatever. Like,
Do
if
you
they think that.
do you find that you get clients that are ever like, I don't believe in this shit?
I wouldn't say.
I don't know why I said it like that.
Not really anymore, as much because this is like a paid service. So like, why would you be paying for it?
And it's not like you have like a shop that's like people are walking in and
No.
like being like, what is this? It's
Not
like,
yet, not
Yeah.
really. But I've dealt with that definitely in the past. So, and that's a common thing. If you're a reader, that might come up once in a while, but it's not common because you're paying for it.
Do you feel like that comes from friends or family, like especially when you first started?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you'll notice it people you're close to, and also like I've had the experience a lot, like if I was pulling, cards at like a group event or, someone's house or something, then other people are like halfway interested and then they're like, oh, I'll do it. But then they actually have a lot of doubts about it. And then they just want to like shut everything down. And to that I say, don't even bother with readings like that if you're trying to learn, because it'll really just,
kind of fuck with you.
Mess with your head, exactly. And like they don't even want it in the first place, so
Why waste the time? Yeah.
If they're half in, half out,
don't try
just
to convince
don't.
people.
Yeah.
That's my thing too. I never try to convince people to get readings. If somebody ever reaches out to you on Instagram or whatever and a DM and is like, hey, I felt called to your energy, I want to read for you, that's a scam.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Really?
Yes.
Someone has reached out to you saying, I want to read for you?
And you know what happens a
scam.
lot in this whole social media world of it all is psychics are getting duped. Like their accounts are getting copied and then they're like...
Multiple times a day.
Yeah, like I felt called to you. I'll charge... Pay me now, I'll read you.
You haven't got these messages?
It's a scam.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to be
like
honest, though. I don't check my DMs. I have, like, a full influx of just creepy men, and I just...
Well, Brittany's too cool, but me and Kate...
We see them.
We've been seeing
Well, no, you guys get, like scams that are at least, like, nice. Mine's like, open this pic, it's my cock. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like...
I've gotten a couple of those, too. I'm going to be honest.
A little mix match of them all.
It's like a hog and a psychic, just keeping it fresh in my DMs.
That's good to know, actually, in this whole like myth fact episode is like keep your wits about you and always trust your gut. If anyone's asking for money up front for anything, I'm always like gonna be wary.
Skeptical.
But I do think actually one of the first times I ever got a tarot reading was at an event I was working randomly. This was like and I remember changing my life and talking to Max on the phone, and he was like, I don't know what the fuck you're going through right now, but I was like catering an event and there was a tarot reader there, and I sat down and I was like, well, how do I know if like what you're telling me is true or it's just my interpretation of it? And she was like, just because it's your interpretation, why wouldn't it be true? And I was like, poof, mind blown. And so that's the whole thing I tell people who have like are weird about like spirituality in general, and I'm like, it doesn't have to be this like set in stone thing. Why wouldn't you want to look at it as a reflection tool? Like, wouldn't your interpretation be the one thing that you trust?
The one thing that's true in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. But we're just...
I think...
Not programmed that way.
Well,
Also, my favorite mantra across all divination, like psychic readings, mediumship, is like, take what serves you and really... like leave the rest. You also have an inner intuition. You also know what's resonating with you and your spirit team, which what feels good. And like maybe hold those other things in the background as like potentials, like you were saying. But like whatever felt resonated.
There's a reason it's sticking out to you.
That.
Yeah.
And then let everything else kind of fall to the back burner. And if so, things happen. So they happen. I mean, the psychic that predicted I would work at a pizza place definitely did not think that resonated with me. Tossed that shit out the back door when she gave me that one. And
I
then
actually kicked it with all my might.
I was like, that was cute. Anyway, it stayed in the back seat of my mind and everything. Turns out you fall off a cliff and the only place that will hire you is a pizza place. And that's where you get.
Life do be like that.
So
yeah, I remember my first tarot reading. I was debating if I should start making YouTube videos, but I thought it would take away from my dance career. And like the tarot pull was like, you feel divided, you feel pulled between two things. And I was like, and I didn't tell her any of this shit, but like it was my interpretation because that was where I felt it in my life. It could have been my love life, it could have been my family, but that's what I was like drawn to, and like what
was on your brain.
Yeah.
You have another myth we can bust?
This one I thought is, I don't know if this is a myth or really like how you would handle this, but I wrote, because I saw this question, if you don't agree with the tarot pull or the person's interpretation of it, are they wrong or am I?
Wow, that's another that's a hard question.
Yeah,
that's
something that someone would Google though, like at home. Like,
oh yeah, but I don't think you could just chalk that one up to like myth or like truth.
Yeah,
that's way too complex, because totally there are times where you didn't pull the cards in integrity with your spirit, you didn't pull them in integrity with your practice, with the energies that you're working with, and there's times when you're working with people who may not be working in integrity with their spirit, or they have other stuff going on. I've gotten it's pretty interesting readings myself, and then ones that are like the direct opposite, and that just confirmed. I was like, okay. But sometimes I think it's hard, because that can be true, but then at the same time there can be really strong or like really important messages that someone's trying to bring through for you, or you're trying to bring through for yourself, that you're gonna dismiss
or like maybe you don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, because you don't want to see it at the time, it's too painful, and so it can be really easy to be like, that person's a shitty psychic. Like, I remember going to this woman who's amazing, Stephanie Barton in Kansas City. She does angel readings, and she was like, you're gonna break up with your boyfriend at the time, and I was just like, fuck you, like, no, I'm not. And yeah, it was because I didn't want to hear it, you know, but I was like, no, she's wrong. So sometimes it can be, you know, it's variable. Feel things out. There's no one or the other.
Yeah, we can't really bust them.
Sorry.
No, but I thought it was an interesting question when I was looking for commonly asked questions around like tarot.
Yeah.
The other one that I have, which I don't know if we want to get into this or if we want to do a little mini reading, but the last one I wrote was, does tarot give a clear answer? And I just thought was hilarious.
To keep it short, no.
Yes. I thought it was hilarious, but it was one of the questions I saw like pop up.
Unless the answer that you're looking for is really simple, but I think we know oftentimes our lives are not that simple.
And when you're seeking counsel, we've got some other things happening.
Yeah.
It might be a little complicated.
And honestly, how many times in life are things simple or clear?
But sometimes, I'm going to stay on the other side of that, sometimes it just hits you with, you know, straight yes, no. Yeah. And there's no way to deny it. But sometimes it is not like that at all. So don't count on it to always be like that. It's not going to be the magic 8-ball.
Yeah.
Every day.
And it's not always going to be a psychic telling you to break up with your boyfriend.
No. She didn't tell me to. Shout out to Stephanie. She just let me know.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so we thought a little fun way to end this, maybe instead of our normal tarot pool, we'll have Olivia do little specific readings for us. Right? Is it a reading? Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Sure.
Am I overthinking this?
A little.
I just want to make sure I'm like correct.
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead. I feel like you guys are closer together.
What is my
Do you have a question? Do you have...
Let's do an overall reading about this season in my life.
Okay. Overall season about this reading in your life.
You got all the words. All the key words there.
What is a season? Just like a couple months?
We got 2. That was evidence of jumpers, by the way. If you all
those
saw
were 2
that.
really came out.
So you have Borage, which is courage, and I'm using one of my oracle decks with herbs and flowers, and then you got Samphire, which is the adventure oracle property. I feel like honestly the Borage was the strongest one, though. It was on top. This was just a little thing that came out with it, but this is a beautiful plant, and it has been used similar to alcohol, actually, in the past, because, not gonna lie, it gives you a little bit of liver damage, but so...
They're gonna say because it's, like, fun and flirty, and you're like, because your liver.
But that's also why. You know, it has some of the similar effects to alcohol if you prepare it a certain way, where you kind of, like, loosen up a little bit. And,
what kind of flower is it?
Borage.
Borage. Oh, that's the name of the flower.
Yeah, borage.
Wow, I never heard of that in my life.
Yeah. So I feel like this was the main message coming through. So because it gives you, kind of that like liquid courage, so to speak. And so that will show up at times when, it could be beneficial to really just kind of open up, release some like inhibitions, maybe that you've had about the current path that you're on. Is there anything specific
that I need courage about?
Yeah.
I mean,
Liquid courage. That reminds me of Harry Potter.
You guys know, we got businesses rolling at the beginning, and moving that boulder at the beginning is hard, so keeping it courageous over here.
Girl, you also got 9 of water and 10 of earth. Joy
I'm having a great time, and I'm fed.
And fruition. I mean, yeah, you're seeing totally the fruits of this girl has been out here putting in work for years, so it's really starting to come out. And also joy is just like, so it's just such a free feeling, which also goes along with courage. Like it gives you that kind of
and adventure
freedom. Yeah, and adventure. Kind of ignored adventure, sorry. You also got sapphire, which is like, it's adventurous because of like the bright it's beautiful. It's just that bright color that pops out, and it's like, ooh, I'm gonna go for that, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna check this thing out. So
this season is
it's
looking good.
Fun.
I'm trying to get some fruit, harvest some ideas.
Or maybe anytime you're feeling that doubt or that little thing in our head that tells you you're not good enough, just remember that like liquid courage. Take a swig and like
think about my board.
And you don't actually have to drink alcohol or like ingest boards, but you can. I'm not here to judge you, but you don't have to. You don't have to embody that same kind of energy. And that feels more like the guidance, and then like what comes from that, is that feeling of like, wow, I'm really seeing the just like the fruits of all my labor right now. I put in so much work, and this is amazing, and this feels good, and I'm seeing the like actual physical manifestation of all of the things that I've done. And damn, it feels good.
I do feel that a little bit coming to the end of our projects on the house, and just taking on more stuff, more and more projects. I'm excited. That was honestly great, and all my friends came to town, so there was a lot of joy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Happening. My mom was just in town.
Yeah. It surrounded by a lot of love.
It was like a whole season of just having connection, and I'll be honest, it stressed me out a little bit in my career brain, because we are so programmed to just like work. But I was like, this is actually so important for me to take time and spend it when it just so happens to come up like that. So it feels good. Yeah.
Cool. Brittany had a good question earlier. Do you want to reiterate it? Well, you were talking about manifesting and how there's certain things you want to manifest, right?
Yeah, I have like a very specific manifestation that's like really big, and I feel like, I don't know, any tools that can help me like bring it into my life. I'm always like my worst critic and stuff like that, so I always like to reflect back spiritually, because I feel like they remind me like how or what tools or which way I could go. So I guess any of that, like messages from them about like how to keep on keeping on with the manifestation.
So one thing that actually came up earlier when I was shuffling, this card just fell out of the deck, and that was when you were talking earlier, and then I was shuffling again, and then it showed up on the bottom of the deck, and I like looked at it at that point, so I was like, okay, this one really wants to come out. So you have St. John's wort for your plant. Do you work with St. John's wort, or do you?
I've heard of it, but not really.
So St. John's wort is basically like nature's antidepressant. You can't actually take it or use it when you are on like SSRIs or certain types of medications. So always check into that before using any new herb. But it provides a mild like antidepressant kind of like mood stabilization kind of effect. But what like the message also is with it, it's not just that, it's also a very so it's a plant of the sun, and it comes in the beginning of summer, and it kind of kicks off summer, the growing of St. John's wort, and has been celebrated for like honestly centuries as just like this really positive, bright energy in life, because it's like, yes, you know, it's not winter anymore, we're coming in, it's summer, this plant's blooming, this plant makes me feel great, you know, too. So I think it's interesting you got that with like thinking about manifestations, because I think that's the only part you're missing potentially, is that like you work so hard on your goals and getting things done and setting things up, but then the little bit that maybe you could add in is then you set things up, you did the work, and now you let it go and chill. You know,
I don't have a lot of chill in my life. That is true.
But there has to be, girl, there has to be space for those things to come in, you know. And if you don't leave like any space for your energy to change, if you don't leave any real space for your life to change, then it won't. And so those big changes might not come through because you're just, you know, there's so much going on. So kind of sometimes that's the vibe we need to pull things in, is you've already put in so much work. Now it's about like the receiving
back. That's really interesting. That is such a funny message to get like right after getting sick too, because I feel like the universe also kind of forced me to like slow down. And I was thinking like, okay, well, I can't work out or take class for like the month of like November basically for my lungs. So it's been really weird. Like I just spent the day yesterday just like reading and like hanging out with my dog or dogs, but whatever and stuff. And I was like, normally I would never just do this. Like I would always be like, okay, you should work out for an hour. You should do that. You know, you should be learning lines. You should be doing this. And I was like, oh, this is like nice. Like I'm letting go of the guilt that I harbor around letting myself like relax. And I'm hoping that by doing that, I can like open up the doorways, like you were saying, to like letting things come in that I've been manifesting.
Also, you're just a serial entrepreneur for yourself, so there really is no day off. You just are constantly getting like whatever a self-tape or a callback, and then you work weekends, so there really is no specific time put aside for that. So I think it's amazing that you're exploring what that even feels like.
To give myself like a Sunday even is foreign, but it's nice.
Keep going with that vibe then. It seems like it could be helpful, you know, too. And then also I just pulled one more to get a little more context and other messages, and this is the 3 of Fire, and then it is in this deck.
3 is my lucky number.
3 is a very lucky number. I'm really happy for you, and it's also that you're fire energy. You're a redhead. Come on. And so it's like, you know, your spirit, your soul, your motivation, and so it doesn't have to be like taking breaks doesn't have to be like boring. Taking breaks doesn't have to be you like giving up on things or whatever. If you're not like working all the time, you know, if you're not thinking about things all the time, it's actually just the part where this is delight. This is the part where you enjoy it. And like as you enjoy it, you also align more with that, you know, your energy becomes the energy of like enjoyment and happiness and just pure, you know, delight. And so when it's there, then it's easier to bring that kind of stuff in too, you know, so
to match like the vibration of it all.
So if you need a reason to remind yourself, like maybe sometimes you need to, you know, just take a minute, take a moment. This is here, just a little reminder.
I love that. I definitely can feel that. Like, I don't know, I thought everyone felt like this, where like you feel guilty when you stop like trying.
It's a very Western
Some people
energy.
Don't feel that.
It's
very... and it's also weird because I'm a freelancer, so like my whole career, my whole life is based off of like
how much
I put in, you know, whatever. And if you stop that, then it's like you don't have anything coming in. But it doesn't have to be all the time. And in fact, if it is, you're probably burning yourself out, and then you're not giving 100% to anything that you're doing.
It is a practice, you know, but obviously it's coming through from, you know, spirit and other subtle energies, or however you want to view it. So you're getting the green light, like it's okay, you know.
Chill. I love that.
Enjoy your delight.
Enjoy trying. It's hard. I love that. Thank you
so
much.
You can do it. Yay. That was amazing. You want to wrap us up, Britt? You know all the lines and lingo.
Thank you so much, Olivia, again for joining us today. If you want to find her, it's on Instagram at @high_little_flower. Me and Kate's Instagrams are also going to be linked in the description box. If you want to follow us and hang out, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you listen, and also the Double Rainbow podcast. I think that is it. Oh, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for me, Kate, or Olivia, please feel free to reach out to us at contactfoolspodcast@gmail.com, and we are happy to answer any and all questions. We love you guys so much, and thank you for joining us.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye.